Egon, Tanium is interesting because Tanium comes out of the Petri dish, I think around '07, sort of shoots out of a cannon right about the same time that CDM was sort of being developed. So this technology was sort of on the same trajectory, if you will, came together very nicely, and certainly is a big part of what's making the CDM capability work. What's going on over at Tanium in regards to across the programmatic spectrum these days?
Yeah, it's interesting. Kevin nailed it when he brought up the data quality management piece of this, and that really, if you get down to brass tacks, that's why we exist today. We're a kind of generational step forward in terms of how we gather data. And one of the things that we're finding, we work with obviously with a great many customers in the CDM space. And one of the things that we're finding is that there is still a gap in terms of data quality. We have this concept, if I can move data from point A to point B very quickly, then I have good data, it's timely, it's accurate, it's complete. When the reality is you also have to assess the state of that data at point A. How stale is it? How long has it been there? And what really becomes fascinating, and this is kind of part and parcel to the impossible problem that 7 years ago we set out to solve, is as you get into the law of large numbers, all data becomes ephemeral. Things that we don't really consider ephemeral, machine state, machine presence, things like that. At a large enough scale, it becomes this living, breathing organism. And it's interesting to me because that's really what Aware sets out to tackle. It's an incremental step forward, right? I think with Aware, we've taken the beach, but we have to remember there's an entire continent that we also have to take here. But it's good progress, and it brings into account things like operational context of the endpoint, what data exists on the endpoint, where the endpoint is residing at the time of use. The problem is, especially now, as we've seen with this mass transition to distributed workforce, that's all become ephemeral. And so now there's this need for, rather than being able to say, well, 72-hour turnaround should be sufficient, there's this need to be able to look at things in real-time context as they're changing as a living, breathing organism. And so that today, that's sort of the problem that we're trying to help solve, to keep that incremental progress from halting.